What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here for an impromptu live stream like we like to do around here. I was not actually planning on going live tonight, but I was on with Reggie Collects over on his channel as a special guest for about 30 minutes an hour ago, and I had everything all set up, turned on, ready to go, and figured, why not? Let's just go ahead and fire up an old live on my side as well. I did not get a chance to do one last week, so figured I'd hop on for a little bit tonight. Don't know that we'll go very long. We'll just kind of see how things go. It's not like there's anything to talk about. You know, it's been a quiet 2022 in the old sports card, comic book, Marvel card world so far to start off the year. There's just all sorts of shenanigans going on. What is up, Marvel Madness? What's up, Joel? So I don't know if we'll have any special guests or not. We will see. We will see what happens. But yeah, we'll kind of let chat drive the wheels here for a little bit. The biggest hot button topic, and I'll kind of wait. What's up, Global? Kind of wait for chat to fill up a little bit here. But the eBay thing is probably the wild and craziest thing right now. The whole new eBay thing. I don't know. I still really do not know how I feel about the eBay thing. I want it to work. I just don't know that it will work. Time will tell, and we will find out very quickly. It is already on listings. This thing is live right now. I was looking at some raw cards, and when I was scrolling through my watch list, it said, you know, eBay authenticity guaranteed. So I almost want to buy something just to see, just to kind of see how long it takes to get to me. But early on, I'm going to guess it would be a little bit faster because I don't have a backlog yet. I think my bigger concern is when it drops to 250 bucks. So, yeah, it was tongue in cheek, Marvel Madness. Tongue in cheek on the everything's been quiet lately. That was me over dramatizing what has actually been going on. But yeah, the eBay thing is definitely the most interesting thing, and where it goes from there and the ramifications of the eBay thing. But we'll see what happens. What's up, The Wall? Spider-Man metal coming soon. I don't think so, Ryan. I'm pretty sure it's been delayed again. It just hasn't been formally announced. I was listening to Norin and Ian on their podcast with Upper Deck from a couple weeks ago, and I don't think it's hitting the March date. I think it's getting moved to mid-spring at the earliest, maybe even late Q2. I wouldn't be surprised. I would love for it to come out. I think the current date on Blowout is March. I don't think that date holds. I wish I would have bought more boxes. That is the mistake that I made. I'm not buying a flawless box for 11K. I rarely rip wax, and it's never usually sports card wax. I'll rip Marvel wax, but no thanks. What comic grading company should I use? I only buy CGC graded books. If it's something modern for a super quick flip, like low dollar, you know, you could consider CBCS, but they're just as backed up as CGC is, and the resale value and liquidity is just not there. People want CGC. I do like ripping Marvel boxes, but on the sports card side of things, you definitely just want to buy the card that you want. I agree, Global. I'm not even going to talk about them. I don't even want to mention their name. What's up, Mark? Yeah, I don't think this date's real anymore. I think it's going to get pushed off that date. I'm almost positive it's getting pushed off that date. Yeah, Marvel Madness, May or June. This is the same thing I've been hearing as well for Spider-Man Metal. Does SGC grade music stickers? I think so. That would be a better question for Flipping Steve, and he may be popping on, so I will throw that question his way once he pops on. Do I think when PSA opens up cheaper grading options will force other companies to lower their prices? Yes, 100%. I think they're going to put a lot of downward pressure on the other grading companies. as they begin to lower prices and open up. Because I think if they really wanted to, they could price pretty cheap. If they truly want to, um, they truly want to capture that market, they can outprice everyone if they want to. Going to miss the Bucks Cavs game? Why would I miss the Bucks Cavs game when I have it on right here in front of me? I could multitask. I could glance down at the score. Have it streaming on my iPad. Buy, sell, or hold Burrow. I run by the adage: you never go broke taking a profit. If you have multiples, sell some off, keep your best ones. It just depends on what you're into it for. You know, do you have Burrow because you like Burrow and you want to collect Burrow and you're a Bengals fan? Or did you buy Burrow waiting for a good opportunity to sell? Guess what? This is a pretty good opportunity to sell right now. So it just depends on what your end goals are with Burrow. Hey, what's up? I'm doing quite well. Marvel Metal boxes are now at $375 a piece, I think. If my memory is correct, I will look real quick. I have a blowout tab pulled up over here. $369.95 is the pre-sale right now. I think I got mine for $225. I really need to. PSA would make my heart happy if I could win one of these freaking event slots. I have so many things I would like to send in, and I need the slots. I have so much stuff I would like to grade. Most of it's all Marvel. I don't think any of it's a sports card, to be quite honest with you. And I have other Marvel stuff I would like to send in, like at higher. I have Marvel stuff that I need to send at higher tier levels, but I'm waiting to see if I get an economy submission so I could just mail it all in one package. So I'm holding strong until tomorrow. If I do not get in tomorrow's allocation, the couple cards that I want to send at regular service are going in the mail on Friday. I'll give it one last college try, but I don't want to make it. I don't want to wait anymore. Yeah, that's $370 a box for those. I don't know. It depends on how the PMGs work. Though X-Men Metal's sitting at $450. Yeah, I mean, there's so much supply on the market. People just don't want PSA 9s when there's PSA 10s readily available. So, Luca greater than Ja. I like them both. I have plenty of both their stuff. So, Ja more upside. Ja does have a little bit less baked into his prices. I haven't been hearing this per se, but I mean, PSA opening up a selling platform is just the next logical step to come in. I would not be surprised if that happens at some point in time. Is now a good time to sell Brady? I haven't looked to see if his price has reacted from the loss. Buying Burrow right now is really tricky because if he does not win this week, it's immediately going to go down. Why is basketball languishing? All the eyes are on football right now. We just had one of the best football weekends we've ever had, and the eyeballs are still on that. As soon as football ends, we head straight into Woj bomb season, and that's usually when NBA starts getting the eyeballs. Whether it affects card prices, I don't know. We'll see. Yep, Ortiz got in. Nobody else did though. Surprise! I mean, I'm not surprised by that, but it's kind of stupid. Do you think eBay will offer grading with CSG in the near future? I don't think in the near future. I think they need to see how this thing goes and go from there. But I would imagine that's what CSG would like to do in the end game. I don't know how many people would use it, depending on the turnaround time and the cost. I mean, I know personally, I don't want to grade with CSG. So I would rather have the card sent to me and send it to where I want to actually grade it with. But it does seem like the natural progression for them to at least offer that. Buy, sell, or hold Tom Brady. If Brady dips, I would probably at least look at buying. I'm not a Brady guy. I've never wanted to own a Brady card. I've never cared to. There you go. Wall doing things right. Some Target Panini NBA retail. Don't do it, M-Perk. I mean, this has been talked about forever. Zion to the Knicks. We'll see if it actually happens. Zion's pretty cheap right now. Just depends on what the Marvel is hard to grade. It depends on the Marvel. If you're talking about PMGs and stuff, a lot of their cards are thicker stock, and those don't grade as well. For those that don't follow me on Instagram, and this will be in a video tomorrow as well, not a mail day video, but I talk about this card in depth tomorrow. I just got this in today. This just came in today. But these cards are super thick, and they have that metal surface that flakes off. You got to be very careful with these. But yeah, this just came in the mail today. Very underrated. Can't find them anymore, at least at reasonable prices. Those really jumped. I jumped on the bandwagon right at the last minute. Obviously, I could have bought it cheaper months ago, but trusted my gut on that one. We'll see what happens. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Flipping Steve. Oh, buddy.
What's going on?
Hey, I have a question for you. Someone asked in chat earlier, does SGC grade music stickers?
Yes. I know they grade the Panini music stickers, if that's what they're asking about.
They didn't get specific. They just said music stickers, and if anyone would know, it would be you.
Yeah, and they do the 1994 Argentina stuff. I know they do the like the 95 smash hits, and yeah, they pretty much do everything. And SGC will grade a lot of stuff that PSA won't grade also.
I thought that was I was like 90% sure I've seen you with SGC music stickers. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
In regards to the eBay CSG, are we going to see a $20 fee? So the interesting thing here is the way they worded this FAQ. It says, at no cost to the buyer or seller for now, which makes it sound like there's going to be a fee at some point in time if they really want to tack one on there. Have you had time to dig into that whole situation, the new eBay thing at all? I haven't heard you comment on it yet.
I have. I mean, I watched some Bench Clear Media stuff on it. They kind of broke it down pretty well and gave their thoughts. I don't know when the last time I sold a card actually was on eBay. And I went to my eBay selling, and I actually had a card over there listed. And I didn't even realize I've had a card up there for buy it now for a long time. And I delisted it as soon as I saw that I had something for sale on eBay. I'm just not looking to use that platform at all right now unless I absolutely have to.
I haven't sold on eBay very much, but I still buy a lot on eBay.
Yeah, I'm going to eBay primarily as a buyer. But, if this starts chasing off sellers, like for instance, there's multiple things about eBay I don't like. So I know just from personal experience, I'm one person that's selling less and less and less on eBay. If other people have that same mentality, it's going to make it harder as a buyer too. You're going to start finding less and less and less of the stuff you're looking for.
Yeah, because whether we like it or not, they're still the biggest platform. Whether we agree with what they do, their seller fees, the tax, whatever. All
right. But I bet you this time. But I bet you this time next year they'll be smaller than they are now. I think they take a small hit just because of multiple reasons, and that could just be the market being down in general. But lots of other good platforms popping up. Lots of people doing Whatnot auctions. More and more people are signing up on Whatnot and selling their stuff quick.
Yeah, but the Whatnot thing seems tricky, though, because there's only so many eyeballs that could be on an individual seller at a given time. I guess you don't need that many people to have a really active room. But there's also a big time investment there. eBay, I could do eBay when I'm doing just about anything, or any digital selling platform, MySlabs, eBay, whatever. I could just be browsing while I'm eating dinner or whatever. Whatnot, I feel like you got to be like engaged with the platform, and it's hard to keep eyeballs on a screen. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess I can take back. I guess I can take back what I said about not selling any cards recently. Technicality, I've consigned stuff through consignment that's being sold on eBay, but I haven't done any listings personally myself. No, I guess I have had some of my items sell on eBay. It's just been through a consigner though.
Yeah, but even if you're not selling on eBay as a buyer, it still affects you because it could take up to an extra probably 5 business days now. I would think to
Oh
get a
yeah.
card, which
Yeah, it can affect you if you're really looking to get that card in by a certain time frame. Like if you want to get that, if you want to have it before going to a show to put in your showcase, or if you think it's going to have some trade value for you at a show, especially if it's like I'm going to Atlanta, it would be nice to have a bunch of Atlanta cards, some Acunas, some Trey Youngs, and I don't have any of that stuff. But I know that it would be nice to have it. Say for instance, you come across a nice deal a week before that show and you want to scoop up that card to take, that could be something that could hinder that time frame, could hinder something like that.
I've got a lot of questions tonight before you hopped on, and I see that there's still some floating around. Joe Burrow, and this is tricky because everyone has their own individual circumstances, but just generally speaking, if you had some stuff right now, would you be trying to downsize a little bit to take advantage of the hot market for him and not take the risk of, because you got to assume if he loses, he's at least going to stay flat. He's not going to go up. I don't think his prices aren't going to crash per se. But would you be trying to move Burrow stuff right now? Or are you like, no, I don't want to ride the waves, I'm just going to hold? Or how would you be approaching a Burrow situation if you had, a couple
I can tell you one thing I would be a buyer. And that's probably going to be my video this week, like 5 players that I'm just waiting on. I'm not going to rush into them right now because it doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense if you're a buyer of Joe Burrow right now is him winning the Super Bowl or going to the Super Bowl. And we've seen in the past, a week after the Super Bowl, your cards are back to where they were before you won the Super Bowl. So it's kind of like, does the risk outweigh the reward? There's a lot of risk because it's not the favorite to go. Definitely wouldn't be the favorite to win. So you're putting yourself in a lot of risk because he's high price point, because he's the hottest. His cards are the hottest they've been. So, you never want to buy when the market is up unless you really think it hasn't reached its ceiling. If they lose this week, then we're looking at the ceiling right now. So to me, the reward doesn't outweigh the risk. I wouldn't be a Burrow buyer. I would actually probably be a seller depending on what I was holding. If I was holding graded prism base or even silvers, low end stuff, I guess it's not lower end, but I would be selling that type of stuff. If I had like a flawless or an NT patch or something like that, maybe that's something I just want to hold for the long term because it's a great card, not just the fact that it's worth money, but it's a great card as well. But if I was holding a lot of his lower end rookies, they're probably as high as they're ever going to get.
Yeah, unless he literally wins the Super Bowl this year, which could it happen? Yeah, it's on the outcome of possibilities. I don't think it does. And then you're gonna have some downside risk on the back.
Now, with that being said, if someone walks up to, and we always say price point is a big factor. If someone walks up to you with a big bulk lot of Joe Burrows, and you have the means to sell them out quickly before this week, like say you can set them up at a show and move them, or something like that. If you put something up on eBay, people aren't going to buy until they see a result. If you put it up as a buy it now, and then they're going to try to snipe click the buy it now before you have a chance to save the price. If you put it up at auction right now, you're going to have to run a limited day auction because you want that auction to go off maybe at halftime of that game. Ideally, as long as they're not getting blown out at halftime. But you don't want to wait for your auction to end. If you wait for it to end at the end of the game, then you're running the risk of them losing. And if you put up a buy it now, you're running the risk of somebody buying your buy it now before you have a chance to catch the price in case they win. And then someone can always do a buy it now and then return for no reason just because they would lose. So, and that's the problems with selling on eBay. But if you had the means to move some stuff in person or even on Instagram or something like that quickly, and someone walked up to you with a bulk lot of lower end Joe Burrows and was like, hey, I'll sell you all these for a discount price, as long as you can get them out and get them sold. So everybody's going to have different circumstances. So I just try to, give different angles and, different ways that it might make sense. But for the most part, for most people, it's probably not going to make sense.
Yeah, the way I usually generally like to approach these situations, and it's, there's a ton of variables, but I like to try to do what you did earlier, what you kind of spoke on in regards to like maybe you start paring stuff down. Like I did this a lot with like Luca and Trey's. I got the Luca Optic Hollows at a good deal, and then before the season started, I held the Luca Optics, but I moved some of my lower end Lucas, and I did the same thing with Tatum's. I got the Tatum checkerboard, which then freed me up to move the lower end Tatum stuff that I had when his market was kind of a little bit hot before the season started. So
yeah,
and then you're building in a safety net on the higher end card that you're holding on to with, you have less downside risk there because you made your money on the lower end stuff. So if the high end thing comes down a little bit, worst case scenario, maybe you wash out on it, but you still have the long-term upside if you want to. But that's only certain players I would do that for. And I would put Burrow in that category of player.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with believing that Burrow could be a good long-term hold. I mean, because he's playing well. It's always scary with NFL quarterbacks, but that if you want him as a long-term investment, again, it's definitely not the time to buy. There wouldn't be nothing wrong with holding, like I said, high-end cards of his if you really believe in him.
For sure. This is an interesting comment by Dave. I kind of gave a little bit of thought to this. I didn't mention it in the video that I did the other day. Could you see eBay eventually going to the vaulting service route?
I mean, that's a good point that he brings up there. I've never really thought of it at all till this comment coming up. Because I guess maybe they're baby stepping us into that. I don't like the whole idea. Now, I get with so many scams that have been going on recently with the fake Jordans that were actually PSA slabbed and all that, getting something like that authenticated. I remember years ago, to touch on that again, I had a Jordan. This is years and years and years ago before. This was, oh my gosh, this was probably at least 15 to 20 years ago. I went to sell a raw Michael Jordan rookie on eBay. Now, I hadn't sold anything on eBay in forever, and I had actually been out of the cards for a while. And when I came back into it, I still had a Jordan rookie that I had pulled from a pack when I was younger. And I put it on eBay, and somebody in Australia bought it for $750. It was $750 raw. At the time, that was good money. I was jacked about it. And then eBay canceled my transaction saying this card has to be professionally graded in order to be sold. After the auction ended, though, and then I ran like a 7-day auction on it. And I didn't know that because I was new back. I wasn't even back into cards yet. I honestly had just found some stuff, and it was, I wasn't into my career yet. My wife wasn't into my career yet. So to be able to make $750 on a card that I had dug out of a box that I had when I was a kid sounded like good, it was like gravy. But yeah, eBay didn't allow that transaction to go through. They actually told me not to send it. It has to be authenticated and graded. And at the time, I didn't even know grading was necessarily a thing. I had seen graded cards occasionally at my LCS back in the late 90s, but never thought I got to submit this to. I wouldn't even know how to do any of that stuff back then.
Yeah.
But now they're going to, this is kind of along that lines now where they are making you authenticate a card because there's been a lot of, shade going on. But then again, they're going to start charging people for it. They're bringing CSG in to do it, who really hasn't been around sports cards very long. Do you want to trust them to authenticate a Michael Jordan as opposed to like PSA or BGS? What gives them a higher authority over the other grading companies is another thought.
I think it was more about finding someone that was willing to do it. PSA has enough stuff on their plate. BGS is
right. But because they're talking about eventually having to authenticate your slabs as well. It's not just, they want to make it a $750 threshold, which it is right now, right? They want to eventually get to a $250 threshold, which there's not many cards that sell on the market right now cheaper than that. And then they eventually want to get into where they even want to authenticate your slabs. So not only is your card authenticated through whatever grading company you chose to use, and if it was some slabs, I would understand that, but they're going to use CSG as a higher power to a PSA or a Beckett, So Beckett might say my card is authentic and CSG might say that it's not. So now you have two grading companies and you're choosing to trust one over the other. And at that point, which grading company is right and which one is wrong?
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen, you send one card to one company, it gets a 6. You send it to another company, it gets a 9. people are always like, oh, that one company undergraded it. Well, how do you don't, maybe the other company overgraded it. You don't really know. You know what I mean? People are going to spin that whatever way that they
Mhm.
want. They'll always
And I know
take the narrative that
CSG
fits their argument the best.
CSG brought in the what head graders from Beckett, so
Yeah,
they
they
will
brought
have
in
that
two
little
two of the head guys from
yeah,
Beckett.
so they'll have that little bit of experience, but as an entire workforce, well, all of the grading companies, except for maybe BGS, have expanded their workforce so much that everybody's going to be kind of new. So you're really going to have your top experienced guys doing the authentication, I would hope. But how many top big time guys does a company like CSG really have? And CSG themselves are behind on orders right now, and now
On
they're going
both
to take
sides.
on
CGC is very behind on comic books as
yeah,
well.
and they're going to take on this now as well. I don't know. I just don't think. I don't know. I don't think it's something that CSG should even want to take on. But again, if they think it's going to promote their business, they're definitely going to make money from it. Somebody's going to have to eventually pay for it. It's not going to be free. So,
The
yeah.
only thing I can think of from CSG's perspective is that, like, and we talked about this a little bit earlier before you hopped on. I have to imagine eventually there's going to be an option to just grade the card with CSG while it's sitting there if it's a raw card. I have to imagine that is on a whiteboard somewhere where you
Yeah.
could check a button at checkout that says grade this card at this service level after you authenticate it or whatever, or in
Yeah.
lieu of that step.
Kind of like along the lines of Star Stock, where you can buy your card and be like, "Hey, I want you to PSA this for me." But is that going to make people all of a sudden want to flock to grading with CSG because it's just convenient to do it through eBay? Is that their whole plan to begin with the partnership?
I think
I
lower
don't
end
know.
cards people would take advantage of it, but like I mean, you and I know there's going to be certain cards that just aren't going to make sense in that slab, and people are just going to want them sent home to grade wherever they want, unless it
Mhm.
was super cheap and you used it as a pre-screen. But then, like, how does the return policy on that work? If I buy a card off you, when does you allow 14-day returns? Does that kick in after the card's graded, after it's been authenticated? What if it comes back at 8.5 and you listed it as mint? You know what I mean? Like, there's just like a ton of rabbit holes you can kind of go down
Yeah.
when you really start picking it apart.
Yeah, that could be a problem with the return policy. Well, I guess once the card is authenticated or whatever, that's it as far as returns go. A customer can no longer drop a return on you, from what I understand. But the more hands that a card goes through, like I could send a card out, mint condition, near mint to mint condition, and by the time it goes through an authentication process, it could be damaged in that process. We've seen grading companies damage cards before. It happens. Everybody's human, so it's going to happen. So then what happens? Do they just go ahead and forward it on to the buyer, and now the buyer's gotten a card that got damaged somewhere? I mean, ultimately they're going to blame the seller, but that card could have got damaged in the hands of the authenticator.
Yeah, and then another question too is like, so say you buy a card and you get it authenticated, they put it in their little bag with their little QR code. If I go to sell that card again in 6 months, does it have to be re-authenticated if I've never opened it? And then how do they
Right.
prove that I haven't opened? I don't know how tamper evident these things are going to be. And the other thing too is, judging by the pictures, it looks like they put them in card savers, which I get. I mean, we send card for grading in card savers, but it's not like when you get that card, you're not going to carry around a card saver in your case. You know what I mean? If it's a PMG, you're going to want that in a mag, not a card saver.
Right.
So you're immediately going to crack that seal anyways in a lot of cases if they are using card savers. And to me, it looked like
Well, I
card
mean,
savers.
you could be buying the raw card to get it graded. I mean, if you're buying a high end raw card right now at $750, your plan is probably to get it graded, and then ultimately to probably resell after grading, which means now if they start grading slabs or authenticating slabs, now they're just wasting their time and someone's wasting their money having a card that's already been authenticated by CSG, getting authenticated again by CSG, and now they've made double the money off the same card.
I think there will be major pushback, and I think it's coming if they rolled out fees for this. I think people would really be upset about it. I don't think a lot of people are super happy with this to begin with. I think if fees got put in place for this, where either the seller or the buyer are chipping in, 1% each or something like that, I think there would be a lot of pushback on that. But there's no way they're going to do this for free forever, because eBay has their established fees, the cut that they're getting. Now, all of a sudden, you're introducing this element in, and it's not free. Someone's paying for it, because you figure normally the seller is paying for shipping. or the buyer. Someone's paying for shipping to get it from me to you. Now that's getting paid for me to send it to CSG, and then CSG is paying to ship it to you. And then so that's a cost per transaction. You know, every card over $250, that adds up fast. And then just the man hours, and even if it's quick, even if it's them just picking up the card and going, you know, okay, cool, that looks good, this is a real card, off the next one. That still takes time, even if it's, because then they got to package it back up. They got to put it in this card saver. They got to put the QR code on it. You know, it's not like it's just like, oh, bing, bang, boom, back in the bubble wrap. So all that stuff takes time. And I don't know how they manage this when it goes to the $250.
Well, I mean, just the materials and the manpower and the shipping that it's going to take them to redo all that stuff. Again, that fee is going to be coming out on the other end for somebody else eventually. I don't really like it. I've never sold a card that would qualify. I don't think I've ever sold a raw card of $750 plus value. Now $250, I've done that. I've bought cards higher than $750 raw, especially when you're talking about PMGs right now. You know, I've bought some expensive PMGs. So luckily I've never been burned as a buyer. You know, the only thing this does is give a little bit of peace of mind to a buyer. But other than that, it just, I think the cons outweigh the pros here.
I think it should have been optional. I think if the buyer wanted it, they could pay a 1% fee on the sell or something. And then it goes off to, you know, it goes through the process. You know, the seller picks that at check, or the buyer picks that at checkout. They eat the cost of a 1% fee, maybe. And then it goes to wherever it needs to, you know, it spits the label out to you as the address to send it to CSG or CCG. It goes to them, they do their thing, send it off, and then, you know, it helps eliminate the return. Or maybe it's a buyer option. Maybe the seller can say, for a 1% extra fee, I'm willing to do this, not to have the headaches of a return process. Right. I think that the underrated thing that people aren't talking about on this is, I wonder how many back end issues eBay has to deal with on a daily basis regarding returns, chargebacks, like that sort of stuff. And I'm wondering if they're hoping it cuts back on that stuff.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if they make it an option and it's only a 1%, which isn't that much money, then I can see 1% being worth it. And if they make it optional, I just don't think they should be forcing it on any people. If it's only a 1% fee and it's not optional, it's a must. Again, 1% isn't too bad. I mean, on top of what they already take, it sucks. But, you know, as a seller, also, because you could have a shady buyer on the other end that has the exact same card that they're buying off you, and they want to pull a swap. You know, they could have a fake, you know, I know you can't send Jordans unless they're graded. I already know that. But just say, for instance, they have a fake Jordan in their hand, or a card along that line, and you send them your authentic one, and then they say, I got this and this was fake, I want to return it. That the authentication process will help something, you know, will deter things like that. But then again, I think it should be optional to where the seller or the buyer each want to, you know, just take that risk on their own. But the option is there. And if you don't take it, you know, fool me once, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I wonder if on some stuff, I don't think 1% would actually be enough, to be quite honest with you, the more I think about it. But maybe it's a situation where it's like the buyer pays 1% and the seller pays 1%, kind of like my slabs almost.
Yeah, and I could see that too, where the fee is split between the buyer and the seller, because both of them are getting
you're both getting a benefit from it, technically.
The small benefit of peace of mind, I guess, or whatever, how much peace of mind that would offer to an individual. But yeah, if it's going to be a must, 1% isn't that bad. But if they were to tack another 3% or something like that on now to what they already charge, that just is gouging at this point.
Yeah. And to Josh's point here, it's great publicity for CSG. It is, if they succeed at this. If they, you know, once this thing goes to $250, I think at $750, most people aren't worried about a backlog. I think they'll be able to keep up relatively. When it drops to $250, if they have a PSA-esque backlog in regards to buying and selling cards on eBay, that's a disaster waiting to happen. And that would not be good publicity for them. So it really comes down to how well they can execute this plan, because this does have the potential to benefit CCG as a company. I don't know that it has a benefit to CSG Slab's resale value on the secondary market.
Right.
I don't think it has a lot of effect on that. It's good for CCG as a company because it's basically guaranteed business. But it also has the potential to really blow up in their face if they cannot execute on this.
Yeah, I'm like you. Like it's definitely, you know, if they can pull it off, it's a good business move for them because they're guaranteeing themselves business. But I mean, would I like to see it cause secondary value bumps or market value bumps for their slabs? I think anytime any grading company can get up there on a level to where they're competing with PSA, it's a good thing for all of us because it gives us more options, more companies we want to use. I mean, a lot of times in the end, the reason why we use PSA is because of their aftermarket value, not because we prefer their slab or we prefer their service or because we trust them anymore. It's just the brand that draws premiums on the market. You know, I wish an SGC did that. I wish a CSG could do that, because then even BGS, because then I would have all kinds of companies that I could send my cards to, and from a value and liquidity standpoint, I wouldn't be worried on the other side. So I hope this does something like that, but realistically, I don't know if it does, and it's going to take a while if it was to happen.
Yeah, it's the next couple of months on how this plays out is going to be very interesting. And some people were commenting on that, you know,
I do have a question.
Definite benefits for this.
I do have a quick question though. Say for instance, they go to authenticating slabs, right? What if you're selling a CSG slab?
Yeah, does it still need to go to them for authentication?
Does it still need to go to them to get authenticated?
The joke there is any CSG slab worth $250?
But you know, but that's what I mean. Like, say that it is, and you have a CSG slab that you sell. Does now, because it's already been graded by CSG, does it go back through CSG again? They're getting they're double dipping.
Another, like, there's so many things that they really didn't answer. Maybe it's in the super fine print. If you sell a lot of, say you sell, because this is hot right now, Marvel. Say a raw set of Vibranium Molten sold today for $1,200 or $1,500, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Set.
Oh no, it was $2,270. It was close to $2,300. Yeah.
Regardless, does that have to go to get authenticated?
Right, because it's not one individual card doesn't really meet the criteria.
But it was over $2,200, and individual cards in there would probably sell for over $750. Like, I bet you the Ultimate Spider-Man Molten would probably push $750.
Maybe that one, yeah. The only one would be the Miles, but yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know.
So does that have to go? Then how does that work? Do they get it and they have to authenticate every single card out of a 300 card set? You know, is it only literally individual cards? Is that a way to get around it? I want to sell whatever when the new thing goes.
I mean, how does it?
I want to sell this. To say this is $1,000 card,
mm-hmm.
But I'm going to make it a lot with this $1 card. Does that now get me around it? You know what I mean? And is there a way to abuse that process?
Here's the other thing right now. CSG, well, I guess maybe they're not even grading Marvel cards yet. So you're going to tell me you're going to authenticate Marvel cards, but you're not grading them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You know, if I want to send a PMG, you guys can authenticate it, but you can't grade it. The reason they don't grade it is because they don't have the experience to grade it. So do they have the experience to authenticate it? So, and again, also touching on your thing with someone buying a set. What about wax? Because we've seen fake wax. We just saw the whole fake wax box of Pokemon.
I mean, you would send that to BBC to get it authenticated, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, what if you? I'm just saying, what if you wanted to sell a wax pack or a wax box? Because I've been looking at the Marvel Masterpieces packs that sell for like $600 a pack. That's a pack that would go, that would fall over a $250 threshold. Is it okay for sealed wax to be sold without being authenticated? Because we're all witnesses that sealed wax can be replicated or duped or scammed or whatever. If not even easier than singles.
For sure. There's just so many weird niche cases. And maybe that's why they just did the 750 thing so they could work some of this stuff out before they roll out the more stuff. But like, I don't know. What happens if I sell 2 Jason Tatum slabs together or whatever? You know, I've bundled stuff up like that before of various different players, especially raw stuff, you know? And if it creeps over 250, then what? I don't know. There's just so many different weird questions with it. And, you know, to Brian Ang's point here, there's like a million things we would like for eBay to fix. I don't think this was high on anyone's list. There are way bigger issues on the eBay platform than this. Maybe that's just for us as buyers and sellers. Like I said, maybe there's what we're not seeing is behind the scenes. eBay has a mess on their hands with returns, chargebacks, all that stuff. Item not as described, and they're trying to eliminate all that with this process. So maybe their angle is we save money on the customer service side because we're not dealing with all this BS on the back end. But, you know, to the point here, the non-payer thing's a disaster. Like, how do we not have the ability to leave buyer feedback yet? If someone buys from me and is a bad buyer, why can I not leave them negative feedback? I have to leave them a positive feedback, and in the positive feedback say they took 14 days to pay or they never paid. You know, and to me, that seems like an easy fix. That seems like a, you know, I'm sure it's not, but like, there's already a system in place for me to leave positive feedback with them. Just give me an extra drop down box. And people have been begging for that.
And they can tell. They have a system in place that can tell if someone's paid or not and how long it's taken them, because it'll pop up and give you an option to relist an item after a certain amount of days, or even file a complaint, you know, an unpaid item complaint, but they won't allow you to leave feedback on it.
Yeah, for sure. But you don't see their unpaid strikes either. You know what I mean?
So it's not even like somebody could make something up on a buyer, even if a buyer paid you in a timely manner, some people might just want to be stupid and leave a negative feedback when it's not earned. But eBay already knows if somebody's paid or not. I mean, they tell me pay now when I win an auction. And if I pay now, it says payment complete or whatever, or payment pending until it goes through, or, they know when something is bought and sold. And then they'll even tell you you should be receiving it by this day because somebody should be shipping it out by a certain time.
Yeah, here, perfect example. My buddy has run a silver PSA 10 Zion at PC Sports Card Auction 3 times, and it's been non-paid 3 times. Like, that's insane. And listen, I know every time I bring this up, people are like, "Oh, but I want to buy multiple things from the person." Whatever, they could figure that out. How eBay does not have auto pay set up, it boggles my mind. At least make it an option. For me as a seller, I should have the option to check mark a box that says the second this auction ends, it automatically charges the credit card. Everyone has a payment method on file with eBay. There should be an option somewhere that allows me to say, if you're bidding or buying this item, you're going to be charged immediately for it. That should be an option I have as a seller.
And that's currently just on Buy It Now, right? That's currently just on Buy It Now. I think there can be an option on a Buy It Now to have, immediate payment.
Correct. But on when you start going back and forth with offers, that's not the case. And when on an auction, that's not the case.
Right.
So if I post something for auction, I should be able to check mark a box that says this is automatically going to charge your payment on file the second the auction ends. I don't know if that would solve non-payment, but I think it would make people question it, because all of a sudden, if you're getting hit with $1,000 charge on your credit card, and that's going to sit there for a week or a week and a half until you let the process play out, if you're actually not going to pay for it, some people might not want that charge out there. So I don't know that it fixes the problem, but I can't imagine that it would hurt anything.
Yeah, but then again, you get the people who buy something off of you. Say, especially last year when the market was so reactive. It's not as reactive now, but we were talking about Joe Burrow earlier. Say, for instance, you have some Joe Burrows for sale right now at Buy It Now. Somebody goes and buys them all Friday night, but they don't pay. They wait for that game to end. Now they're like, okay, as soon as the game ends, if Joe Burrow wins, they go ahead and pay you. If Joe Burrow loses, they just become non-buyers.
Yeah.
But your cards have been tied up and nobody else could have bought them off you.
Yeah, they're essentially locking you into a sale, but they have no real commitment other than taking a non-payment strike. You know
Right.
what I mean? And yeah, that those build up over time, but people will just use it. They'll just create a different account or use their sisters or their wives or their moms or whatever. You know, there's ways around that stuff. But to me, that's a bigger problem than, you know, this nonsense that they're rolling out. But once again, there's probably an angle to this that we are not seeing or don't understand regarding like the returns and that sort of stuff. But to me, the biggest issue from our perspective is the non-payment stuff right now. I think that's the biggest problem right now with the platform.
Hmm.
What do you think
And
about? I saw some people mention this in the comments. What do you think about MySlabs offering raw sales now? Is that something you would take advantage of? I know we both really like the platform, obviously
yeah, I
sponsored, but
mean,
I used them before I took sponsors, you know, did sponsorship stuff for them. I love the platform regardless.
I haven't. Have they officially started that? I know they were
They
talking about
haven't. It's coming. They said
it. Okay.
Q1 basically.
I mean, I haven't read into it, so I don't know if they put out any details. I mean, right now, my slabs, they're protected by, the card being graded. Somebody knows what they're getting. Now, PayPal gives you your buyer protection, so I guess you could still make a return through my slabs. But by selling slabbed cards, you're less likely to get a return on a slab than you are a raw card. But I guess it's going to depend on the criteria of the raw card. Are you going to have to note certain things and stuff like that? Like on ComC, if there's a damage, you note it. Do you just put it in your description? Is there going to be options for you to actually add notes that highlight it? What are you going to be required to disclose about a card? There could be lots of questions. Is this something I would want to take advantage of as a seller? Yes, because I have confidence in the graded cards. I mean, raw cards that I sell. If I have a bad damaged card, I just don't sell it. It's not worth the hassle. I only would sell it in person, because at that point somebody can personally look at it. I could be like, here, this has got a damage on it. You can see it right here. Do you want it or not at a discounted price, as opposed to putting it online? I only sell raw cards online that I would grade, because I just don't want to deal with the hassle of getting a return or somebody saying I'm selling damaged cards or something like that. So if I think a card is going to, 9, I'll sell it on eBay and I'll list it as near mint to mint. But anything that I list online at near mint to mint is something that I kind of, and I'm not a professional grader, but something I perceive as being a 9. And sometimes I'm wrong. I just cracked a PSA slab the other day, wondering why it got the grade that it got, and I was wrong. I missed a spot on this card, on the back surface of a card. I missed it, and I'll always point out.
You were messaging me about that card. So you actually did. You actually think you missed something on it?
Well, we talked about it. This was just a Josh Allen optic, 2018 optic rookie. And I bought a lot of them. Back when they were so cheap, I bought 6 of them for $30. That was $5 a card. Imagine that time, when that time was still around. And I sent them, I evaluated them all, sent them all to PSA. They all looked good, and they all come back graded well, except one of them got a 7. And I couldn't figure out why. Even looking through the slab, I couldn't figure out why. But when I cracked it out to look at it, I found it. And I was just like, well, that was missed by me. That wasn't PSA's fault. Now, sometimes it is. Sometimes I do believe, hey, the grader made a mistake here. I don't agree with their opinion. But, also there's times when again, I would miss something too. So, so that could happen.
Some of those weird
raw card up thinking it was good.
Some of those weird surface creases and stuff is really hard to see inside the slab. Like if you missed it the first time, it's really hard to see.
And this was on the back, and when I look at it, I think to myself, I'm like, how did I really miss that? Did I rush because I was evaluating 6 of these at the same time and the other 5 looked really good and I rushed? Maybe I evaluated the same one twice and missed this one. I don't know. Could it have been damaged at PSA? I have no proof of that. So again, I'm just going to put it on I made an error and I sent in a card that got graded a modern card that got graded a 7. I missed it. That's just the way it is.
I mean, I sent in that, it's sitting around here somewhere. This was like a year ago now. Where did it go? It's right here. I sent in that X-Men 90MU team card. I thought this was a PSA 10 all day. It came back a 6. And then I really looked at it, and I think there is a crease on the back is what got me, to your point. But I thought this looked clean. I mean, I spent like $50 or $75 to grade this at the time, because this was when 90 MU was hot almost a year ago.
Yeah.
And I thought I looked this thing over pretty tight, but it came back a 6, so I feel like I had to miss something somewhere. I don't remember where the crease was on the back, but like that's another perfect case of that. To Global's question here, I haven't really looked at this because I don't look at raw sports card prices that much. I mean, to me, this seems like a natural progression of things, 9s being the similar values to raw, just because there's so much supply out there now. People will just go get a 10 of something if they really want it. And it's kind of devaluing the 9s to a point because of the oversupply on the 10s, if that makes sense, at least on some cards.
Oh yeah, on Ultra Modern, there's more 10 Zions, there's more 10 Lucas than there are 9s, like by like triple fold probably. So at least double. So when the 10s are so plentiful, why get a 9? But if you're looking at something that's a little more condition sensitive, doesn't have a lot of 10s, it's going to all depend on the card and the pop on a 10. I think it's, on some items, a PSA 9, 8, even a 7 in some instances, depending on the card, is going to draw more than a raw card value. PMGs right now, I'm seeing PSA 7s sell higher than raws. Not by a lot, but I'm looking at it because from a grading standpoint, looking to buy these raw, does it make sense? And I look at it and I'm like, okay, I can buy it for this much, grade it for this much. And even if I get a 7, I come out on top. That limits my risk because, getting a 7 sometimes isn't that hard to do. Now, it must be pretty hard to do on precious metal gems because they're condition sensitive. So it's going to all be circumstantial to the card, I believe. And because there's a lot of ultra modern stuff flooding the population and the market right now, that's probably where you're seeing a lot of your comparisons on cards that actually have a lot more 10s than they do 9s.
Yes, for sure. I agree with 100% of everything you just said. And then it's weird, to the opposite take on that, on the Marvel side, because I do want to talk about some Marvel stuff since I have you. PSA 8s are commanding like a massive premium. Now that's on a lot of the Marvel cards. Someone commented on this earlier before you hopped on. They're like, why are all the Marvel cards extremely tough to grade? And I'm like,
yeah,
some of them, the way they design them are so condition sensitive. A lot of them are thicker stock. And we all know on the sports card side of things, the thicker stock cards do not grade well typically. Then they have this foil etching on them. They have weird hollow foil stuff on them. And to Marvel card collectors, to give them some credit, they take care, they cherish their cards, but I don't know that they were as well treated as like us ripping a box of like Prism Hobby. We're opening in a box and any card remotely of value is going in a penny sleeve, then going in a top loader or a mag or something else. A lot of Marvel card collectors back in the day, these cards did not have that value. So they took care of them, but I don't know that they took care of them to the same level that a sports card collector does on our side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They weren't ripping their packs with latex gloves on.
Exactly. I'm not saying that they weren't like just taking their cards and throwing them around, but a lot of them were stored in binders, and binders aren't necessarily great for cards. Sometimes not even in penny sleeves. So,
and a fine example of that was just today, and I had linked this in the Instagram. A bronze Spider Girl in a raw sold for $130, but a PSA 8 sold for over $500. So on those cards, and that's the bronze, which aren't even the higher, the highly desired ones as highly as the others, they're starting to catch up. Because we talked about this. I said people are going to come into the PMG and there's going to have to be an entry level somewhere. So the bronze will start to get some popularity, and we're starting to see that. But for a Spider Girl and a PSA 8 to go for over 500 and a raw to go for 130, that just goes to show you the difference when you're looking at some cards, how much condition, being condition sensitive can affect it. Because getting a PSA 8 in some cards is really, really strong.
Sorry, just type in something real quick. Yeah, for sure. Some of the, like the PMGs are so tough to grade. So what have you, I feel like there's been a consensus on this. Is most people considering PSA 7s as like raw value on PMGs? Is that kind of where it's settled in at? Or is it more 6s almost now? The market moves so fast, it's almost hard to tell. But.
Yeah. I'm starting to see 7s that creep up higher than raw. Now it depends. If it is a blue, the 7 draws more money than a raw. If it's a bronze, people are probably going to go with the raw. So I think the ones that have less print run, the less effect the grade has on the card. Well, more or less, depending on which way you're going. The more rare if it's a blue, it's going to draw more in a high grade, which is going to drag up the value of the 8s and the 7s over a raw card value. You're going to hear a train whistle in a minute.
I forget what
it's
I was
parking
gonna
in my
ask you.
garage.
I was gonna say, is the tornado coming or what? What the hell?
Oh yeah, conjunction junction. What's your function?
Seriously, Sharpshooter says I will never buy a Marvel card. Never. Come join the revolution. About Marvel collectors not protecting their cards in the 90s, quite like sports cards. What might that say about Marvel 90s future values? I mean, you're kind of already seeing it. Like I actually posted about this last night. A Black Panther 1990 Marvel Universe PSA 10 went for $600 last night. Like those PSA 10s at 90 MU are still actually selling really strong. And the pop counts, they've gotten bigger, but they're still like not obscene. And you figure a lot of that stuff is starting to come back from PSA at this point. You know, it's even like the stuff that was submitted cheaper at lower price tiers, PSA has been clearing that backlog. I'm sure some still sitting there, but
yeah, it's like 90s junk wax in sports. If it's graded a 10, you can still get stuff. You can still get something for it. You know, how many Barry Bonds 87 tops Tiffany's are out there, you know, graded in a 10, it's valuable. Graded in a 9, not so much. Kind of like it's kind of like how the Marvel goes. Marvel probably, even though it was in the junk wax era, still probably had a way less print run on what they were putting out in comparison. Not saying it was small, but in comparison to sports.
This is a very interesting question, and you have firsthand experience with this. Why don't the 2018 PMGs get as much love as 17 and 15? So I'll answer this first, and I'll throw it off to you because you have firsthand experience dealing with this.
Yeah, I think we probably have the same answer.
We probably do. So the thing with 2018 is it's an X-Men only set, which X-Men are really, really popular. But when you look at the checklist itself is kind of weak. The Wolverine card is an achievement, which is really rare, but it's an old man Logan. It's not a true Wolverine. And it's not like him in his brown suit or yellow suit, like what you would kind of want to have. It's kind of a weird time for the X-Men. The characters aren't in a lot of their classic costumes. Like Magneto's kind of in an oddball costume. Cyclops is in a weird modern kind of costume. And there's not a lot of big name characters in that set. So that kind of throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into it. Also, and I don't know how much this affects the market, but the Marvel guys tell us that essentially one person owns about 80% of the product of Fleer Ultra X-Men 2018. So he kind of has a stranglehold on the market, which you would think would have the inverse effect because the supply would be so much lower out there. But you literally have firsthand experience with this because you bought a set of 2018 and you had the same questions, I believe, when you first got it. Like, wait, why do these sell for so much less?
Yeah, it's just a thing where the eyes are on, 13, 15, 17 is gaining popularity every day. That's Spider-Man.
I think 17 is more popular than 15 right now in some cases.
Yeah, it may have. And, maybe it's just taking time for that set to catch on. So maybe it's just a thing where, again, if people looking to buy Marvel PMGs are going to have to, there's going to have to be an entry level at some point. And every time a certain entry level gets closed off due to price, there has to be a new entry level established. So we're starting to see bronze 2013s probably get out of the price range of the average, buyer. And it could cause an effect of that. But like you said, it's an X-Men set. You're not getting Spidey and a lot of the other people that drive the other sets. Your Avengers aren't in there. Strictly X-Men without having Wolverine in there, it makes it a little soft as far as to want to chase and buy wax. Now, there's a couple first PMGs in there that could be desirable if some of these, and like you said, the X-Men have not been in the spotlight. If they make an X-Men movie, which they will, and they highlight some of the lesser known X-Men that came into the comic books later, like one guy that comes to my mind is like a Bishop. He's like a fan favorite. A lot of people like Bishop. His first PMG is in that 2018 set. So if I was looking to buy one, that would probably be one I would go after. They also changed the look of it. Instead of having a high glossy finish, like a refractor type finish, it's more of a matte type finish, where it does reflect, it does shine in the light, but it doesn't give off that mirror image. So
Yeah,
aesthetically, it's not as appealing aesthetically.
and
So
that's been part of the problem with 2020 X-Men metal is that the reds do not pop the same, and it's held the values down on 2020 X-Men metal on the PMGs. Like
yeah,
I have,
that's that. So you saw the insanity today. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I pulled up my my lost auctions list today, and I was looking at 2 greens that sold on the same night, 2020 PMG Green Scarlet Witch. And I lost one auction at 286. That was actually the second auction. The first auction I lost at 330 something. The second auction I lost at like 286. And then there was one going off today. It ended up selling for 1,700. So that was in like a 2 or 3 week time span. That card in a green. Now that green was the alpha. I get in Marvel collecting, the alpha and the omega is a bigger thing than it is in sports collecting, which is serial number 1, serial number, whatever the last serial number is. So the first one and the last one printed draw a premium upon the hardcore collectors. And this was the alpha, but to see it was number 1 out of 10. So, but to see it go for 1,700 when the high 3 weeks ago, normally what I gather, what I've gotten from other collectors is that an alpha or omega usually draws 10% more. This was just a 4x what the one went for that I lost last week, and I'm not regretting not buying those and pushing those higher a couple of weeks ago, because now all of a sudden I could turn around and sell it and make a lot of money. I'm a big Scarlet Witch fan. Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch are my favorite. This was before they even were going to be together in the movie. So those are the two that I have the most cards of. And I just wanted to add that green one to my cards. And I was thinking to myself, this goes for 400 or 500, with the market the way that it's been going up. That's not bad considering a couple of weeks ago they went for 300. But to go for 1,700, I was like, holy crap.
To answer AP's question, I'm going to answer AP's question in a second. But like to my point earlier about the reds, look at the difference between this looks pink, like the 2020 X-Men metal looks pink compared to the actual reds. Yeah, you have one right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find a red. I got them all sorted out by. Well, this is a 2013.
Well,
this is a
2013
2013
red. Looks the same. Yeah. It's not even a red, and I don't like the way that the logo on the bottom is not PMG.
Yeah, it's more of a
so
pink.
So the fear is, Spider-Man Metal is coming out in a couple months. What people are really worried about is that the PMGs are going to look like X-Men Metal, and they were a big letdown. I mean, those boxes still sell pretty well, but to AP Sports question here, when did I make that initial Marvel video? So funny thing about that, February 1st, it has been almost 1 year to the day that I made that initial Marvel video about 90MU when it first went absolutely crazy. The funny part is about that video, I don't know how many people actually know this, maybe some do. That is the most viewed video on my channel that I have ever recorded, is that video. It's about to hit 40,000 views. It still gets views to this day.
Oh, but 20K of those views was me, though.
Just rewatching it over and over and over.
Yeah, just put it on repeat.
So to his point, though, his group sub is still there. And I don't know how many people group submitted those cards versus subbed at higher tiers. I was sending Spider-Mans in at $150 a pop or $75 a pop, whatever it was back then for express service, because I wanted them back to beat these people, that we're sending in slower, because I knew the prices were going to come down. But I am still very encouraged by the current prices. Key characters are still going for anywhere from $300 to $600. That's strong on a base card. I have a box sitting right back there of 90MU sitting right there sealed. If grading prices went down, if I could regularly grade at $50 a card again, I would rip that, I think, and grade it. I really think I would. And I have a stack.
I did the same thing at the same time. I sent them in at $50 a card back then too, and I've had mine out and sold them.
I mean, I have a stack. This is all stuff I never submitted the first time because PSA closed down. I would love now with what's coming. I would love to have this Moon Knight go off to them at $50.
Yeah,
like this is all stuff that's in my consideration for if I could freaking win an economy slot at $50, but I keep getting shut out.
Yeah, I have a stack like that too. Cart
Yeah,
stuff
like
that's already card saved up. And
I have these Spider-Man prisms.
yeah,
I think these are super underrated, graded anyway. These are super tough grades, and they look fantastic. These are from 1991, 92 McFarlane comic images. Like,
oh yeah,
these look great. It's a cracked ice effect. Like, it's McFarlane artwork. Like, it's the best of all worlds. And these are on the cheapest paper ever. They're so thin. The back centering on them is terrible. That's the only thing I'm concerned about with grading these is the back centering. So I'd like to send these in. To me, these are perfect $50 PSA cards. I almost sent these to SGC, but I held off because I think those would do a lot better in PSA slabs. And then I have all these, the Japanese anime cards from Marvel from the Weiss Schwartz that I ripped those couple boxes on. I did send one of these off. I actually think I sent one of these to SGC just to test it. I think this would look really good in an SGC slab with a black and white background on it. So we'll see. They've had that for about a week or so now. It's still sitting at received. So hopefully that starts moving.
Yeah, I'm sitting in a holding. I have tons and tons of Marvel that I want to grade, but if I send it out, I won't have it for Atlanta. So I have 4 cards out right now, but I expressed them, $150 a card. I got to hope that it pays off for me because, maybe I sent 5 cards. I can't remember. It was actually close to $700 in fees, so I think I sent 5 cards.
I'm going to snag this rolling with FD comment, and then we'll swing back into Marvel stuff. Do you think eBay partner with CSG's reaction to card grading services that Fanatics will bring in the future? I think the Fanatics card grading thing is pretty far down the line, honestly. I don't think we see a Fanatics grading situation for quite a while. I think they got a lot of other stuff they need to figure out before they get to a card grading company. Do you have any just general thoughts on Fanatics and grading cards or going into that realm?
Yeah, I haven't looked much into that. I just with the Fanatic stuff, I just go as it comes, like the buying of tops. I didn't predict it. I didn't talk about it possibly happening or anything. Good Lord, running a train on them. But anyway, no, everything that goes on with Fanatics right now, I just take it as it comes. Like, I'm not trying to think ahead on it or anything. Anything that they do is, I don't think they're going to do anything bad. I feel good about Fanatics. I don't know if everybody else does, but I just think with a lot of the companies and pricing and things like that, it couldn't have gotten really any worse. What's going to happen? They're going to go in and do the same thing where we're already at. They could make some improvements. I don't think they're going to go the route of I think a grading company, if they do that, is down the line for them. And maybe it would take acquiring just a grading company that already exists.
Yeah.
Or contracting one, But
Sam from Women of the Hobby making Marvel plays. Got a PSA sub with nailed a PSA 10 in it that covered the entire sub. What was the PSA 10 of, Sam? I'd be curious on the character on that. Real quick before we go on to the next question. 214 of you in here, 54 likes. What are you guys doing? You're just killing me, guys and girls. Just killing me. Killing me on the YouTube algorithm. What was that, Steve?
Actually, I'm sitting here thinking it's 4 cards at PSA because it was like almost $700 counting my shipping and insurance. It's 4 cards, 150.
Comment I wanted to pull up and I lost it. Where did it go? The next PSA grading lottery is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe, from what I remember. Hopefully I can get in because there are things I would like to send. Oh, where did it go? Sharpshooter's comment. How many people out there even knew Marvel cards existed 2 years ago? Definition of flavor in the month, in my opinion. There are a lot of very serious Marvel card collectors, as Steve and I has found out over the last few months, as we have dove deeper and deeper into that marketplace and talked to more and more people that kind of play in that realm. And they are just as serious. They are true collectors. They are not lightly letting this stuff go,
Yeah, as someone that was doing sports, going into Marvel because I like comic books and I like cards, comic characters on cards, I thought was cool. I didn't realize there was such a big collector base out there until I started posting stuff on Instagram, and then people, following me because I was posting Marvel cards, and I'm like, that's somebody new I've never seen before. And it was people from the comic book or comic card collecting world. And now that's a whole nother community that I didn't really know existed. And they've been collecting for a long time. So yeah, not everybody knows, not everybody's into the same thing. Sharpshooter, I get that. If you're not into something, you may not know it exists. I collect a lot of music stickers and stuff that people don't even know exist. We had a question earlier: does SGC grade stickers of music stickers? Because not a lot of people know about it or do it. Soccer was the same way. You could look at certain sports. I remember when basketball was unthought of. Nobody collected basketball cards, but now it's the one that's probably the main one everybody collects. So, when you start talking about a flavor of the month, you could talk about that with a certain, maybe a certain type of card, or maybe a certain type of player or something like that. But when you're talking about it as an entire brand, or as an entire sport, or whatever it may be, that stuff's been around for a long time. And, Marvel's been around and will stay around, just like, Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Sam got a PSA 10 thing versus Hulk on a PSA 9 Silver Surfer. PSA 9 on a 90 MU, or was Silver a 90 or was he a 91? I think he was a 90. PSA 9 on a old 90s Marvel Holo is no joke. That's basically like a PSA 10 almost.
Yeah.
I think a lot of they did not send an email. People keep getting confused on this PSA thing. They're not sending emails. It's Twitter and IG for the PSA economy events. That's how they are announcing those. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I lost my train of thought there for a second because I actually was going to comment on this, but yeah, we talk about a lot of this stuff that people are saying might be a flavor of the month. It's just undiscovered. People didn't, people like he did state, he didn't make a true statement. There's probably a lot of people that didn't know Marvel cards were popular. Didn't know that. Me being one, I knew about Marvel cards because I built sets of them in the 90s. I bought the packs that you were just talking about that I did, but I also did, like you said earlier, I didn't take a lot of good care of them. They weren't even like soft sleeve. I had them built in a white box, a complete set that I hand correlated. And I know that they've been printing them. It's just something that I wasn't super interested in till I really got into the comic books. The comic books was my draw to the cards. Now I like the cards, but wrestling cards. People didn't know that they really liked wrestling cards. People didn't know they liked wrestling. They didn't know cards were out. Then they started discovering the 82 Wrestling All-Star cards. Now, Panini just bought the license to WWE. There has to be a market there. It wouldn't make sense for anybody to buy a license on a product. It wouldn't make sense for Upper Deck to have the license to Marvel if there was no business, if there was nobody buying it. So, I just think it's funny. Maybe it's just the phrase flavor of the month just kind of gets thrown around. You hear that phrase used by multiple people. I think it gets thrown around a little too loosely. And I guess whatever context you mean it in, but here today, gone tomorrow. That could be anything. That could be life.
Yeah. All American Breaks asks, any bigger shows you're planning to attend, Neo? I am looking extremely strongly at the Atlanta show, which I know Steve's going to. I actually have a tab open with flight alerts set to Atlanta for those days. And I was sliding into Steve's DMs just yesterday asking about, so wait, what day is dealer set up and what day does the show start? I am going to make my best effort as possible, as long as work will allow me to get that Thursday and Friday off, to make that Atlanta show, because I know a lot of people going to that show now. You're going. Kenny Fornos is going. I haven't really met Kenny in person yet. I think I ran across him at the National, but we didn't really know each other then. Justin, Spidey Jew is going. Norn from Sketch Card Hive is going. A lot of the Marvel guys are going. Merlin's going. Great Curator's going, who I haven't had a chance to really talk to yet. You're going to be set up with Roth and Kenny. I haven't really got a chance to meet Roth in person. I would like to. So, I am going to make every effort that I could possibly can to get to that Atlanta show. And I don't even know that I necessarily care about making plays. I'm almost going more for the social aspect, which is
Mhm.
a very under. I mean, we talked a lot of people talked about it post national. That was the very underrated part of the national. Like I could have went and not done a lot of card selling and buying and been pretty happy with that trip. And that's the way that I'm eyeing up this Atlanta show already. But I do have a decent amount of Marvel stuff. I could steal part of your case, chip in a few bucks, and steal part of your table for. I don't know. I really want to get to that Atlanta show. That is the number one thing on my mind, is getting to that Atlanta show.
Yeah, I'm I'm pumped about it, man. I can't wait. It's my first time ever setting up, so it's completely going to be a completely different experience. But like you just said, with how many people are showing up now, I don't even have to sell cards to have a good time.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a lot of hype for this Atlanta show.
Well, you figure there was a lot of hype going to, when last year, when everyone heard that there was going to be a Atlanta show and it was going to kind of be across, across different platforms. It was going to be like sneakers, comics, toys, cards. It was going to just be collectibles in general. There was a lot of hype. Plus, in the city of Atlanta, everybody was like, man, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. And then it was like a week before the national. So how many of us, I know at least myself, speaking for myself, I had to back off the Atlanta show because I was going to Chicago the week after. I can't do both. It's not, I don't run the show circuit. You know what I mean? So would I have loved to go into Atlanta? Yes. Last year, yes. But the fact that I preferred the national over Atlanta, I had to make a choice. This year, the way that it's timed right now, it's the biggest one going on around, and everybody who went there last year is going back, and all the people who had to make a decision between that and the national last year are able to go. So I just feel like it's probably going to be bigger, and all of us are talking about going almost as if it's a mini national. It almost feels like, hey, this is a halftime national. Half the year's gone by, we're going to have another national here in Atlanta. That's the way that it's shaping up, and I believe it's because a lot of people missed it the first time around.
Yeah, I know. I think a bunch of us had kind of talked about Atlanta show the last time, and we're all like, for the same reasons you just said, the timing was terrible. It was the same weekend as Dallas. It was 2 weeks or a week before the national, and as much as I wanted to go to that show then, because it was perfect too, because the Braves were home the same weekend, so you could have kind of did like a little combo trip out of it. And it was like, why would I spend money to fly down to Atlanta when I would just rather have that money to spend at the national at that point in time? When you're that close to the national, why do I want to mess up the pool of money that I have to spend, $500 on a flight and a hotel room and dinners and all the stuff that comes with traveling.
I say I have to log, so I have to hit the little chat button to go over and see comments, unless they're comments that you pull up. So every once in a while, you might see me go like this. I'm just hitting the button on my phone. For some reason, I can't see them scroll on the side.
Oh, like you're on your phone and not on your desktop.
Yeah. So just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. So
I see the people in the chat talking about the general drama that is going on the content creator side. Yeah, we've seen it. I'm just choosing not to talk about it because I don't want to give those people any more airtime than they deserve. I made an IG post about it, so I don't really want to focus on that stuff because I don't really think there's a space for it.
Positive or negative, regardless of where anyone's opinions stand on it, they just want people talking about it. So whether you're agreeing with them, disagreeing with them, being positive about it, being negative about it, it doesn't matter. The fact that we've talked about it already for this last 20 seconds, they're winning. So I just choose not to talk about it.
Same. I just wanted to, there's been some chat about it in chat throughout the night. So I just wanted to say that's why,
We need to take the old Dremel. Cut the drama. Cut the drama, baby.
So I have a video going up tomorrow. I was actually going to post it yesterday, but I pushed it back today because of the eBay. I ended up recording a video late last night about the eBay stuff. So PMGs have been going crazy. That led into, as you're well aware, Vibranium going crazy, like the next closest sports card thing. To me, and this is, spoilers for my video tomorrow, and I know that you blindly jumped on this, but I influenced you, I think, on this one.
Huh.
The to me, the next thing is the achievement stuff. And I can't even name a specific card because I don't know it that well. But I think people are really sleeping on the e-pack achievement stuff because they are super rare, super hard to find. And the hoops that you had to jump through to earn them are insane. And I just don't have the knowledge on it. But I just feel like we're all, when I say we all, like the people coming in that are all focused on the PMGs are sleeping on that side of it. And myself personally, I've done some research and I still don't have a good grasp on what's out there and how they were acquired. I know that you may or may not maybe have something very similar to this coming in the mail.
Yeah, it's coming in the mail. Yeah, it's coming in the mail.
For those not aware, this was an e-pack achievement card. It looks just like a base card, but you had to, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, there's 49 cards in this set or 50 cards in this set. You had to have 10 of each, or you had to have the complete set to earn this card on Upper Deck's e-pack website. The Marvel people estimate that there are between 50 and 100 of this card in existence. So this is more rare than a red PMG, even though it's not numbered. Think of it like a Genesis or a Kaboom before they decided to put Kabooms in every.
If Cards and Comics, yeah, and if Cards and Comics is still in the chat, he will definitely know because he had one of those. He didn't want to part with it because I think Spider-Man is who he likes. So when we made a deal for the collection that I bought off him, he held on to that one. You know, I was interested in that. He held on to that one. He also had two Jambalaya Spider-Man black symbiotic suit. And he wanted to hold on to one of those as well. So those are two that he had removed from the spreadsheet, you know, which was cool. We came to a great deal to where we were both happy, but he kept that one. So that's why I had to go out and buy myself one off the bay.
Yeah. Jamie, was the one that you lost the bid on, was that like 48 hours ago? Maybe like 72? Was it just this week? Because, and I'll talk about this in a mail day video upcoming. I'm waiting on a couple other packages to come in. I've been looking to try to get one of these for a while, and I kept putting it off. And, you know, they were $200-300 a couple months ago. I paid $400 for that one. And I basically said there was one ending at auction on Monday or Monday night. And I said, I'm either winning this or I'm buying one of the buy it nows. And I bid to $390 or $395 on it. And it ended $5 above whatever I bid at. And then that one sold. And I bid a little harder on that one because it looked clean. The second that one sold, there was a couple listed. One had some few minor issues on the back I didn't like. The other one was clean. It was listed at $385. By the time I went to go hit buy it now, the guy upped the price to $415 in that 3-minute period from the time that auction ended. And I ended up buying that one anyways because I thought it looked pretty good. And at least I haven't taken this out of the mag yet, but this looks pretty good for a thicker stock card. So I'm actually considering BGSing this. I need to really think about that. I might just PSA it and just hope for a PSA 9.
The one that I bought was listed also. Maybe it was the one you said you didn't like the back on. I'm not really sure because the one that I looked at looked really clean also.
The one on the one that I looked at that I didn't like on the back edge right here, like up against his leg, just had like a little bit of chipping. And it wasn't bad. I just thought this one on the pictures looked cleaner, so I was willing to spend the extra $30 or whatever.
Well, they had that listed at $400 or best offer, and I offered him $325, and he messaged me back. He was like, $350 is as low as I can go, and I'm also offering this to everybody else interested. So I just clicked the buy it now for $350 or the offer.
So, and then the other thing that happened is in the couple of days since that one sold, I haven't looked. I think the cheapest one available is like $800 now. They're all basically
it's $850. There's one listed for $850.
And I had a feeling, Cards and Comics says 50 cards in the base metal set to get the black suit 0. And this is just one that I stumbled across that was interesting to me because of what the estimated run was on it. It's Spider-Man and it's black suit. And I love black suit Spider-Man. I mean, I have a ASM 252 sitting right there. The first appearance of the black suit that this would look really good sitting next to. And I don't know if I'll end up holding this or flipping it or what I'll do with it. But I had a feeling if I didn't buy that card, and maybe FOMO got me. I don't know. I posted on a community post. Like, I think FOMO might have got me on this one. But I just felt like if I didn't snag that at $400, I was never going to see it again at that price. And that's what's happening a lot with this short printed Marvel stuff.
Well, again, because we talked about earlier how Marvel cards are really collector driven. So a lot of these harder to obtain cards, I mean, they jumped through the hoops for a reason, because as collectors, they wanted the rewards at the end. So they're not selling them. And like you said, there might be up to 100 in a print run of that, but how many are actually being listed for sale? You go to eBay right now, there might be one or two.
Yeah.
And they're priced high.
Yeah, because
So
the tier gets wiped out. There's like a bunch of people that say, okay, I'll move this for, in this case, I'll move this for $400. And there was like 4 of them sitting out there around that price. All of a sudden, those get all snapped up, and then that's it. You know what I mean? It's until someone else decides they want to auction one or lower their price on one, because I think the next cheapest one is $825 last I looked, if that's even still up.
you know what I realized, and maybe I don't know about now with Upper Deck because I don't buy hockey, but the vibranium cards that I like, Upper Deck makes a good card. Like, I wish Upper Deck had more licenses. I realize, forget the quality of a lot of Upper Deck cards, because I don't buy a lot of the products that they have licenses to. Like hockey would probably be the closest thing. Now Marvel, but the chromium card from the vibranium is a nice card, man. Compared to a Prism, I always like I like Topps Chrome better than Prism also, but maybe it's just Panini. I'm used to seeing crap product being put out recently by Panini.
One of the vibranium right there.
Yeah, I got a stack of reds.
So I bought this, to the point of how fast Marvel's moving. I bought this last week for $20. One sold tonight at auction for $40.
Yeah, I have a Magneto.
Like, it's a key character, but it's not like, a Spider-Man or something like that. And you got on these early. I missed the boat on these for the most part.
These, when I was buying them, they were like $10 a piece.
Yeah,
I was buying most of them off the same seller. Now the red ones are going for the same price that I was buying the cracked ice ones for.
Jamie, we were 100% betting on the same card then if it was this week. 100% we were battling over the same card.
Well, you saw my IG post today. I got the Guardians of the Galaxy team.
I did see that.
Drax, Rocket, Groot. And I'll probably try to sell them as a team. Gamora, Star-Lord. So I would like to just sell them, say, hey, if I go to sell them at Atlanta, just bundle them as the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So, this is the question of the last month, really, from PS Collectibles here. We talked about this on the, if no one caught it yet and you're really interested in Marvel card nonsense, there was a really good roundtable discussion on multiple different Marvel card content creators channels. You can find it on Sketch Card Hive. You can find it on Spidey Juice. There's a few other channels that it was on that I don't remember off the top of my head. But we went for about an hour and a half. There was 10 of us, and it was a lot. Steve was invited, but had to work. Basically, all of the top Marvel card content creators, and then they let a couple of us sports card schlubs dive into the pool as well. And this was a topic that came up. I made a video about this as well. How sustainable? I mean, we've talked about this before. Sports cards went way up, they came down. Comic books went way up, they came down. I compare Marvel cards, and I know a lot of people don't like this comparison because they don't like the sport. To me, it draws a lot of parallels to F1. It's a very limited supply pool with a lot of people very passionate about it that are willing to spend on it. That's kind of how I relate it to the sports card side of things. And F1, I don't track those prices hardly at all. But I don't think F1, maybe prices have dipped, but I don't think I've seen like an F1 crash, or, compared to what the rest of the sports card market has done. And just with all these super short printed, low print counts and numbered stuff, it's a lot harder for that stuff to just completely tank. But on the flip side, I do want to preach caution that, at some point in time, the music's going to stop.
Mm-hmm. I think, and like you said, it's definitely limited print runs. They have some sets that are out there that are just hard numbered. Now, you wouldn't know that unless you did the research, and the print run is just, they did a hard print of the set, and that was it. Now, they're not serial numbered on the back, but they might only did 2,000 of each card. So the print runs are way less because there was, less people collect it. So from a business standpoint, you don't want to print tons and tons of stuff that you're not going to sell. So it is limited print run. So as more and more people get into the market, and this is happening with the MCU movies. People love the movies and things like that. Even if you've been a sports card collector for a long time, you didn't like comic books, you still probably enjoyed the movies. So there's becoming more of an appeal across the board to people who just like Marvel characters in general. Now, every sale is not going to be a record-breaking sale. There's going to be drawbacks on these really high-end sales, on these PMGs. They're going to come down. You know, I don't think they're going to crash because the really rare ones are still going to be hunted by the collectors. Still going to drive them up, but every sale is not going to be record-breaking. And I don't think they're going to continue to go up and up and up. What I do think, not individual sets, like we've talked about the Marvel Vibranium just now, and that set has gotten up there to where I don't want to buy it anymore. Now it's just I've gotten outpriced on it. But what I do think it'll cause is a trickle effect into other sets. If people want Marvel cards and they can't afford this, then they'll find what they can afford. Can't predict what that's going to be, but I do think there'll be a leveling off of the higher end stuff because more and more people get priced out of it. As more and more people get priced out, that's less people chasing or in demand. So I think they'll level off to an extent, but I think what it will do is cause other sets to get noticed. And I don't know what that set's going to be. I don't even know enough sets to talk about it with you guys. I'm still trying to educate myself on the Marvel stuff. I'm not the person to come to for a lot of those answers. And maybe I will, on one of my live streams, I'll bring on some Marvel guys that can answer some of these questions than I can. So I just don't want to be like, hey, I think this set is going to be great and it's undervalued. I can't put that out there. The reason why I like the Vibranium set is because I was a sports card guy. And it appealed to me from a sports card perspective. It either looked like a prism, it looked like a Topps Chrome, it looked like refractors, silvers, it looked like cracked ice, all the stuff that I like in sports cards. I naturally gravitated to that set and started buying them because I liked them for myself. So that, you know, again, that's what made sense to me. And now they've gotten popular to the point to where if I want to continue to buy some Marvel cards, I got to find something that's a little cheaper, but I don't even know what to look for now because I'm still discovering it.
Yeah. To really accurate point here, this Rittenhouse Sapphire, I agree with you. I just actually bought a complete set of these just recently. I did a mail day video on it. This is 2014, I think. I bought the whole set. I don't think the key characters, I don't think are gradable. I'd have to really look at them again, but these are super condition sensitive the way that they are. These aren't the base cards. There's numbered versions of these. These aren't the numbered versions. It would be comparable to the Vibranium Raws. They're like an insert set. They look nice, but they're non-numbered. I think they're 1 in 6 packs. I think you get one card out, but I got that whole set for $55. You know, I bought it like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, $55 for the whole set, even if I can't grade anything out of it, it's just felt like a no-brainer with the way the market was going.
Yeah, so I reached out to someone that I bought a card off of on eBay because they had some of those Rittenhouse, 2014 Rittenhouse, but they had the diamonds. They're numbered out of 10. And I remember when I bought a card off of them, they also had those go at auction. I remember none of them got bids. And I didn't know any better. I just remember none of them got bids. And this was like at least a month or two ago. I contacted them and reached out to them and said, do you happen to still have those Rittenhouse that didn't sell at auction? Or at first I said, do you have any more Marvel cards you want to sell? Because I bought a PMG off you. And they were like, well, I don't have any more PMGs. All I have is Rittenhouse diamonds out of 10. So as of right now, I'm talking with that person about what they have and maybe pulling a possible deal for some of those Rittenhouse numbers out of 10. Deal might happen, might not happen, but I think those cards look really cool as well. And I've kind of been looking at them without talking about it a lot. And they're hard to find on eBay. You can find like the female characters because they have an individual set. You can find a lot of those, but like a lot of the 2014 ones that you just showed are tough to find, especially in the serial numbered. The ones out of 10, really tough to find. So I'm hoping I pull this deal for this. If I do, I do. If not, I don't. But the problem was this person was moving and they put them all in storage while they were moving. So that's kind of holding up the deal right now.
Yeah. To the question earlier, to the point of if Marvel holds strong until the National, it would be very interesting to see how much Marvel gets play at the National. I would love to see Marvel still hot by the time that, even if it's just not like every sale's jumping the next one. I don't think we'll still be there by the National, but just if it was like a mainstay thing by the time we get to the National, I think would be extremely interesting. Sharpshooter says, "Are we pumping our own cards?" I mean, Steve and I just talk about what we buy. I don't think we really pump.
Yeah, I haven't sold a single Marvel card.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, I'm planning to grade some and then kind of see what happens. That's the interesting angle on the Marvel stuff, is that a lot of this stuff isn't graded, so there's still, we're seeing like record-breaking raw sales, like on the Vibraniums, like those have really shot up. What happens when we start seeing PSA 10s come back of those? I know there's some out there, but there's not many. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like the untapped portion of this. Or even SGC 10s. Yeah, even
to that question, are we pumping our own cards? Do you want me to sit around? Am I supposed to sit around and say all my cards are shit?
I bought them for a reason.
I got a whole box of cards here. They're all shit. You don't want any of them. I'm not trying to sell anything right now. I want inventory for the show that I'm going to. So I haven't sold a card online in a while. I haven't used eBay in a long time. So I even delisted all my listings. I took them all down. I don't want to sell anything till I go to the show. So, you know, you formulate your own opinion on that. But I don't think anybody's going to sit around and say, hey, look, guys, I'm buying shit. Look at my collection. It's shit.
Yeah.
Either you like it or you don't.
Current PMG can be printed every year like Whims and Downtown's first year PMG. I get. And I mean, to your point, J-Can, the whatever character's first year PMG was, summer 2013, summer 2015, summer 2017, summer 2018, those are the ones that hold the most value. I mean, those are the ones that are really going expensive. And then from there, it trickles down to how key the character is, essentially. All American Break says Sharpshooter's just trying to argue.
I like Sharpshooter though. Sharpshooter does make a lot of good points a lot of times, but
for sure, 100%.
I don't think anyone sits around and talks down about their collection. You know, and I'm not telling anybody to buy my stuff. I think we're all grown men and we make our own decisions.
100%. 100%. I don't know the answer to this, Eric. Someone in chat probably actually knows better than we do in regards to what Rittenhouse is the most sought after. Because there are some really, I've looked at some Rittenhouse stuff. They're all really nice. Like they seem to put out, that they put out a nice quality product. I don't know, Charles. There's a lot of angry people just in general right now. Not necessarily in this chat, but just in the wide world. Only had a few returns, and each time I know I could charge more to sell it again. Yeah, you don't get a lot of. How many canceled non-payers do you have on the Marvel stuff right now? Not many, probably.
I've always had the most on Pokemon. I sold very little Pokemon, and that was, I hated selling Pokemon cards. When I got done selling my Pokemon slabs, I was so happy. Not even because of what I made on them. I was just glad to be done with them.
Yeah, to Jamie's point here, he did his research, learned about the Marvel market. He was one of the ones that was bidding on that black suit Spider-Man, and we came to the same realization. Sorry to switch gears. What's the best way to approach collecting older football stuff? Do players' cards generally hit when they retire and then go if they make the Hall of Fame? Boy, I wish Dakota was here to answer this question. Do you have any hot takes on this one? This is not my realm of things that I delve in, so I really don't want to throw something out there that could potentially be incorrect.
A lot of times, I mean, how old are we talking? Are we talking about like vintage, like back guys who are already in the Hall of Fame, like Namath and Unitas and Jim Brown? I think vintage across the board in any sport is great. It's safe as it gets. If anybody was ever going to ask me to recommend, you know, if they were coming into the hobby and they were like, I like this is the sport I want to buy, I would always steer them towards vintage at this point right now, because I just believe it's safe. And it's awesome. That's not everybody's opinion, but I think Jim Brown, you know this because you want a Jim Brown rookie. Yeah, I think Jim Brown is probably one of the greatest buys that you could make on the market right now for value, considering that football cards don't draw the same type of value as the other sports. So even as a market as a whole, football has more potential, especially after this year's the playoffs we just saw and everybody getting so hyped up and remembering how great of a game it is, as well as old-time superstars that transcended the sport that we still talk about today. We still talk about Jim Brown. So I think Jim Brown stuff is great. If you're talking about the 80s, Jerry Rice is always great to buy. Elway and Marino, those guys are always great to buy, but you're going to want good grades on them. Montana, new stuff is always tough because football is the most volatile sport out there as far as injuries go. And I don't think a Hall of Fame bump is very big. Like if you're looking at someone that might be looking to make the Hall of Fame in a year or two, and you're looking at maybe buying their cards now and waiting for that, I don't think that should be your determining point on whether or not you want to buy a player because they're due for the Hall of Fame in a year or two. Because I don't think that bump is as significant as some people make it out to be. But I was gonna put a video out on players that I would hold off on and stuff that I really think that I am trying to target right now. And it's Willie Mays, it's Jim Brown. I don't do hockey, but in basketball, it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I just love the older players right now. I love the fact that the vintage market came back down from that super big hype that gives me an opportunity to get in on it now because I don't believe there's much more basement to fall out from under it. It's going to give you slower returns, but over time, I think that, and they're great cards to have. I would rather sit on a Jim Brown card for the next 10 years than a modern card for the next 10 years. So that's just anything that I would say if you're coming in. And awards, Rookie of the Years, MVPs, Hall of Fame, that stuff adds up over time. Super Bowl wins, and that stuff adds up over time because people start to create a legacy for themselves, like a Tom Brady. He still sells the hottest player because of what he's done, not because of what he's doing, but because of what he's done. But nobody's thinking about, I need to buy Tom Brady now because he's going to be a Hall of Famer someday. People are buying him because of the legacy that he's already accumulated.
Yeah, generally speaking, most of that stuff, Hall of Fame bumps, documentaries, retirements, is generally typically already priced into whatever is going on with that individual player, almost always. To circle back, I got this question before you hopped on. Someone was asking about, which it almost seems forgotten about now, the modern NBA market.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it starts to get a little shine once we get past the Super Bowl? Someone was like, why is no one talking about NBA? And my point is we just literally had one of the best football weekends we may have ever had. Like we literally just had one of the best NFL playoff games we may have ever witnessed. So that's where everyone's eyeballs are at. And if you look at a calendar, as soon as the Super Bowl ends, we're at Woj bomb season. Like the NBA trade deadline is right after the Super Bowl, I think, or very shortly after the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's always when NBA kind of takes center stage. You start getting the ABC Sunday afternoon primetime games. You start getting the ABC Saturday night primetime games. You start getting transaction season. NBA Twitter loves trade season. And then you're in the ramp up to the playoffs. Now, does that boost card values? I don't really know. We've fallen folly to the NBA playoffs will save prices in the NBA market. To me, the NBA market seems very flat. Nothing is really crashing anymore from the best that I could see. Everything's kind of flatline and is just sitting there. Do you think, we're talking about Marvel all the time. Everyone's chasing Joe Burrow and Josh Allen over here, this, that, and the other thing over there. Is the simple answer is maybe we should just probably go look and try to find deals on the stuff that no one's talking about, which is NBA. Like the NBA does not have a lot of focus on it right now. It seems like, at least on the card side of things. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if you feel the same or you feel differently.
Oh no, it doesn't have a lot of focus. I mean, the certain players always get focused. Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, you wouldn't consider them modern, but Steph Curry's still playing. He gets a lot of focus. John Morant has made a lot of noise. But
other than Ja and maybe a little bit Darius Garland, there really hasn't been much going on in the last since Christmas, really.
So ultra modern, I guess you're talking about the younger players, even though Steph is still playing, LeBron's still playing. Typically December is always a bad month for basketball cards because of the NFL, the build up to the playoffs, January. I mean, everybody Monday was talking about those playoff games on Sunday, right? That was, even if you don't collect cards. You probably went into work and people were talking about the playoff games on Sunday, regardless if it was their favorite teams, their favorite players, teams they hated, whatever. People were talking about those NFL games on Monday. If you walked up to somebody, did you see that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes shootout? And then all of a sudden, boom, you got a whole conversation. But so the conversation piece has been the NFL. Do I think playoffs coming up and stuff is really going to cause a surge in basketball cards? I don't. Do I think that a majority of them have bottomed out? I do, but not. That doesn't mean go buy base prisms. Okay, because I don't think that stuff's still coming back from PSA. It's still backlogged. That stuff, I think, still has some downward trajectory to it. But stuff that's not, it doesn't have to be serial number, but like silvers, hollows, some nice select silvers or something, whatever is in your budget. I believe that they're reasonable at this point, but buy the players that you believe in and don't expect a big spike to come because they have a good playoff game. I would just say buy the guys that you think have a good future. Like when we were talking about Joe Burrow earlier, if you think and you believe in him going forward, I would actually wait until after the playoffs and then get into some of his cards. But, you know, if you like Trae Young or if you like Jason Tatum and you just believe in these guys and you believe that someday they're going to be NBA champions like we saw with Giannis, like Giannis was a rookie in 2013, finally won his first NBA title. But there were people believed in that it was going to happen. You know, so if you find the player that you believe in, and it's prospecting, but a lot of these guys you can tell are great players already. But what can they do on top of being a great player? We're not going to see the huge, okay, he had a 40-point game, his cards tripled overnight. Those days are gone. So if that's what you're thinking, that's not going to happen. But if you want to invest in Jason Tatum because you like the Celtics or because he's in a big market or you think that team is going to come around and he's going to win an MVP someday and he's going to win a championship or two someday and he's going to go down as a Hall of Fame player, think upon that mentality. Don't think about, hey, someone's scoring a lot of points. Because a lot of point scorers come and they go. You got to actually believe in a player and what he's going to do with his team and what he's going to accomplish other than the stat sheets. That's going to be the guys you're going to want to look for. And it's going to be longer. You're going to have to hold out on some of these guys other than expecting to sell them, you know, week to week. The day trading days of cards is gone.
Yeah, unless you catch lightning in a bottle where you get someone that is
exceeds expectations.
Yeah, but they have to really exceed now. And your window to do that is a lot smaller now. I think people need to wrap their heads around if I buy player X in an Optic Hollow 10, whatever it is, Tatum, Mitchell, Luka, Ja, Darius Garland, pick the player, Trae Young, and you can make a 30% return on that. A year ago, people would have laughed at that. They're like, 30%? I'm not selling yet. This thing's going to the moon. I think people have to wrap their minds around if you can make a 30% return on a card like that you should probably just take it and move on and not get cute, because your area of getting cute is a lot, that window is a lot tighter and a lot smaller now to move this stuff. And you really need to also be leveraging, buying on a my slabs and saving a little bit on the fees, or selling on a my slabs and saving a little bit on the fees, or maybe paying cash at a show and then waiting for that player to get a little bit hot and then selling it on a platform like my slabs where you're not getting hit with 14% fees. You're only losing 4% to give you a little bit more wiggle room there. You really need to leverage a lot of those edge work. Those little things around the edges seem more important than ever now as things have kind of compressed.
Yeah. And to that aspect, not everybody's looking to buy and sell. It just, not the cliche, you buy what you like, but if you are looking to just buy the cards or players or teams that appeal to you from a collection standpoint, it's probably a pretty decent time to do it, because I don't know how much lower stuff is going to get. But if you're looking to sell, make sure you go into it with a mindset of, I'm happy with this percent return in this amount of time, have an end game for it, and think to yourself, is there somebody on the other side that's going to want to buy this off him? You have to think like the buyer or the person you're going to sell to when you're buying a card that you want to put an end game on. You might think a card is awesome and great, and if it's going into your collection, then awesome. But if you're looking to move that card, you got to hope that there's somebody out there that likes that card more than you liked it, because that's the person that's going to give you more money than what you paid for it.
For sure. We'll wrap up pretty quick here. I'm almost at 2 hours, and I didn't want to go super late tonight. If you haven't hit the like button, smash it yet. We're at 94. Let's get this thing up over 100. And I would just like to point out, chat has been fantastic tonight for one, but I forgot Brad and Dustin were streaming tonight, and I would just like to say we crushed them. We beat them up pretty good on the. I looked down on my iPad and I saw how many viewers they had, and I was like, wow, look at us go. Kel says I like that giant size X-Men number.
Just imagine if I'd have worn my hat, how many more people we would have had.
Yeah, if you had the hair on and stuff.
Oh, well, maybe this is like a lighthouse. Maybe it's like a beacon of light and it attracts people to it. I don't know.
Like a PSA label?
Yeah, right.
Look
at that. Look at that.
There we go.
What?
Yeah. That's your fancy. Is that your fancy version of a ring light? Just a desk lamp?
This is what I put like when I want to take photos of cards.
Ah, gotcha.
To get that nice shine on them.
I got a light box, but I haven't set it up yet. My wife actually got.
No, I have like a big. I have like a big photography lights over there. So I have photography lights for when I shoot my videos, but I don't have photography lights for where my desktop is at.
Yeah. Kelsey likes a giant size X-Men number 1 in the back. We really haven't talked much about comic books tonight, and you haven't really bought comic books very much. I was in a big phase on that, but it's been about at least a couple weeks. The last one I got was, which I showed this on the channel before, is the first appearance of Black Cat. I picked this up on My Slabs, actually. I got a really good deal on that. Where are you at with comic books right now? Is it just that like Marvel cards kind of took your focus and your money and your energy? Because, you know, me and you both specifically kind of dive into all three markets. We're in sports cards, we're in Marvel cards, we're in comic books as well, to some degree or another. And we seem to vacillate between the three, kind of depending on our individual moods and kind of what's going on. Where are you at right now with comics specifically? Is it just that you're scratching your Marvel itch with the cards, or just do you feel like that's where you want to put your energy right now? Or
well, when I buy a comic book, it's for collecting. I don't try to buy comic books to resell. So I don't try to prospect on comic books or look for hotkeys where I think a character is going to show up and things like that. Normally, when I buy a comic book, it's going away. It's going away in a box, or maybe display it, but I don't even display them that much. The only one I'm really looking for right now is still an X-Men 4, but I haven't been pursuing it as much.
There's not many to pursue because I'm looking for one too.
And my Marvel cards, I plan on selling my Marvel cards. The characters that I like, I'll probably keep my Doctor Stranges, maybe a couple of my nice Scarlet Witch cards. But all the other stuff, like the X-Men and even Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is not somebody that I collect, I'll sell those. I'm kind of in a holding pattern because I don't want to sell my inventory before Atlanta. So, and I will take, if I turn a decent profit off the Marvel cards, I'll probably take some of that and buy myself a nice comic book to put away. And again, I didn't intend to fall this deep into Marvel cards. That wasn't my thing. I was just kind of like, hey, these are pretty cool. I want to check them out. And I really enjoyed it. I started buying them. And we got the question earlier, am I just trying to pump Marvel cards? I'm not. Like, I originally went in curious, and now I'm like hooked to an extent.
Let me ask you this question then. So let's say, you sell off the stuff that you want to sell off at the Atlanta show. Where do you see because it sounds like you wouldn't necessarily just stop Marvel cards cold turkey. Would you then I wouldn't continue to look to make some plays, or would you turn more into dare I say the evil word, collector Steve?
No, I would do both.
Let me go. What other cool Doctor Stranges are out there? What other cool Scarlet Witches are out there? You know what I mean?
Right. No, I would do both. Like, I've recently sold a couple of Marvel cards, and I sold them on Instagram, and I got like $1,500, and I've already respent 500 of that on something that I wanted. So I'll use some of it for collecting, and I'll use some of it for rebuilding rebuilding my inventory. Like I don't sell cards to pay my bills. So I sell cards so that I don't have to go to my bank account and buy items that I really love out of my bank account. Like this is a PMG Spider Girl. I have no interest in PMG Spider Girl. You know what I mean? Personally. So this is so I'll sell this. Now my Doctor Strange Red, I've actually been offered 2.5 times what I paid for this, and I turned them down. So, if somebody offered me 2.5 times what I paid for this, I would sell it. But that's the difference between Doctor Strange and Spider Girl. I don't necessarily care for that character, but Doctor Strange is somebody that I like. So if I was in this to flip cards and make a lot of money, that Doctor Strange would have been out the door last week. We talked about this card earlier. This old man Logan would have been out the door 2 days ago because they got really, really, really strong offer on this. But I kind of like it. I like the fact that it's a rare achievement card. So
I can't believe you haven't sent that thing in for grading yet. I don't know what you're waiting for on that one.
So I'm just kind of like, there's stuff that I want to keep and there's stuff that I will sell. I'm sure that's the case with everybody out there. I'm sure every card that everybody has doesn't go in their collection. They just kind of end up with it one way or the other. And sometimes they might sell a card in their PC to upgrade to a card in their PC. I got the Dale Earnhardt auto that I got, the Grail one, that I've been hunting down. That's Sign of the Times, Dale Earnhardt auto from Upper Deck. Before that, I had bought 4 other autograph cards of his. At this point, I would probably sell maybe 2 or 3 of those because I've upgraded into the Dale Earnhardt card that I want on my PC. So now I don't mind selling off the other ones.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier with sports.
When I sold my Tony Hawk auto,
sell the cheap ones and keep the good ones.
I sold my Tony Hawk Upper Deck autograph because I wanted the Topps Allen and Ginter numbered out of 15. So I sold that and I used some of what I made from that to buy the one that I wanted. So
yeah, I think to Jordan's comment here, Steve's like the guy who sells the smoke for free. I think that's all of us. I mean, we all. No, I mean, some people out there are definitely flipping for their full-time job. Most of us, that's not our life. We buy and sell to buy the things that we really want. Like it's the side hustle to using the hobby to fund the hobby. To your point earlier, my comic book collection back there is not something I am looking to sell. So when I buy one of those, that's a conscious decision because I know that money is going to sit. It's not like, buying a Soto pink that I might look to sell one day, sooner rather than later. Like I could potentially move this in the next week or two. How I have this listed on my slabs right now. Those I'm not necessarily looking to move. So when I buy one of those, that's money tied up. Same with some of the Marvel cards that I'm getting. Some I'm getting because I truly enjoy the character or characters, and those are going to be set aside. Others I'm buying to help pay for the ones that I'm setting aside, which I think is healthy. I mean, that's what you really should be doing, in my opinion. Merle's World in the chat. What's going on, buddy? You got here right at the end. We're just getting ready to wrap up.
I don't even understand that. I don't even understand the saying that Jordan used. I've never heard that before. I sell the smoke for free. Is that good or bad?
I mean, I get what he's going for there. You're a little bit of a dealer to fund the habit.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, okay. Because Jordan's my boy. I know he wouldn't. I know he wouldn't.
Yeah, none of us have. I mean, maybe someone in chat does. I don't know. I know I don't have endless money. I don't think Steve has endless money. So we got to find somewhere to pay for all this nonsense without my wife throwing me out on the street.
I work. I have a I work a full-time job to pay my bills and.
Yeah, and to Eric's point here, I think a big reason, and I don't want to speak for you, Steve, but a big reason why I started buying a lot of comic books and Marvel cards is, to me, especially the comic book side, is there downside risk there? Yes. But, and I've talked about this a ton, a Hulk 181, a giant size X-Men one, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. But unless something really crazy happens and we're burning that thing to keep warm, that is never going to zero. This Darius Garland red that I bought just recently, an amazing Darius Garland card. This could go to zero. This could be a $10 card in 2 years. It absolutely 100% could. Giant size X-Men #1 is not going to be $10 anytime soon, unless I'm fighting off zombies.
Right.
The floor is so high on that stuff, and that's the reason why I really like it. Now, a PMG, if you buy it at the wrong time, yeah, there's some downside risk there for sure, but you don't have the same concerns when you're talking about Marvel, even Star Wars. Like I have Star Wars autos. I have the Ahsoka Tano, Ashley Eckstein auto. I would love. There's the Star Wars Stellar Signatures of Rosario Dawson as the the real life Ahsoka Tano from the Mandalorian show. It goes for like $1,000. I would love one of those. I'm not taking that money out of my checking account that I used to pay the bills with, so I got to get there somehow. And I think that's why a lot of us do this stuff. So we'll close up on that. So like, comment, subscribe, do all that. Steve, what do you have coming out content-wise? I know you don't post a ton of videos, but what do you got? Anything? You talked earlier about like guys you want to buy, not want to buy.
Yeah.
Anything
well, you never know
anything
when I might
want to round up in here that you got coming out?
You never know when I got to go to the post office and I might just pop up in my car. That could happen, but not planned though. Just keep your eyes out. And then my next video, I just wanted to talk about because you get a lot of questions on these guys, so I just wanted to be like maybe like 5 players or maybe even 4, and I'll take one from each sport that I'm just staying away from at the moment. And it would be nothing based around talent. It's just based around the market right now for certain players. So, and then I want to do one where I talk about maybe 4 or 5 players that I think are great to pick up right now if you're willing to just hold them. I talked about that earlier. I talked about the Jim Brown card. I think a Jim Brown rookie card is just a great buy to hold for the next 5, 10, 15 years if you're not already old like me. I mean, I can't buy stuff too long term because I can't take it to the grave, So
you can.
Well, I guess I could bury me in my Pelican case.
That's right. But yeah, CGC slabs are coming with me, baby.
Yeah, but that's just kind of what I want to do
in the afterlife.
Last week, I just threw up an easy one on cracking slabs with a Dremel. Quick, easy video. So we'll see. That's kind of what I have planned. I also have some packages that I could do a mail day on, but it's not a lot of sports related stuff. It's going to be more music stickers, more movie star stuff, Marvel cards. I've never done a Marvel card mail day. But
you just did one when you bought the collection.
Well, yeah, I did that collection, but I mean,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a lot. This is so.
My next mail day is going to be very Marvel card heavy.
This case right here, this is all like this whole last row is all vibraniums that I haven't shown to anybody.
Yeah,
this is just Marvel cards. This case. My 4-row Pelican is my sports, but now my small Pelican case that I had put away because I didn't think I was going to need it now holds Marvel cards.
I really got to find a way to get to this Atlanta show. That is my #1 mission.
So, yeah, I got to carry 2 Pelican cases through the airport, man. My arms are going to fall off.
That's why you need the small one, man. This nice little 2-row.
Yeah, but I can't fill up. I can't fill up showcases.
Well, that's true. You're setting up, so it's a little different situation.
Yeah. If I was just going to the show, I made the mistake of taking my large Pelican case to the Philly show last time, and that was a pain in the ass. So
I like
if I was just going to walk around.
This fits inside my backpack. So if I don't want to carry it as a regular case, I have a nice North Face backpack that it slides right into, so I could carry it on my back. That's what I do at the National.
Yeah, to be honest, at the National and at the last Philly show I went to, and in Raleigh, every time I wasn't carrying my case with me, I had a better time. I didn't have to worry about
your case with you at trade night.
Yeah, I was able to shop better. Yeah, and then I didn't have it that night because I didn't take it to the show that day, and I didn't go back to the room.
Yeah, you were kicking yourself.
I only had what I was carrying in my North Face pouch.
1,000 people in a small hotel conference room looking to trade, and here's Steve with like 3 cards, which you did close the deal that night anyway. A couple of them actually.
Yeah, I think
See, what you need like 2 cases. You need like your light travel case for the stuff that you want to wheel and deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to lay out at the trade night table that you could throw on, and then, your big stuff for the showcase.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have predicament. So like in Atlanta, you're going to have the show during the day, and then there's probably going to be a trade night that night. You're going to have to decide what you want to pull to the trade night, assuming you don't want to bring the whole
Well, and it's like if I
Okay.
wasn't setting up, if I was just going to a show to go as strictly a customer, I probably wouldn't take my Marvel cards because how many dealers showcases am I going to put that case up on and then be like, oh no, I would be carrying that case around for very few dealers, probably at a like a Philly show that's heavy vintage and strictly sports. If I was to throw that up on a table, it probably wouldn't draw any interest. I might hit one or two, but it's going to be like it's just not going to be worth lugging it around as opposed to just carrying around some sports cards with me. But
I
because I'm
lost.
setting up, people can come to me. If people are looking for Marvel cards, they know that there's a table where they can get it, and there might not be anybody. Nobody come up and buy any, but it'll be available.
I lost the comment. When is the Atlanta show? It's the 24th.
24th is the Thursday. So 24th is Thursday. That's dealer setup. And then 25th is Friday. So that's like sneak peek. And that's only for a couple hours Friday night. I don't know when the trade night is. Maybe that's a Saturday.
I just
But then
assume it's
Saturday
every
and
night
Sunday are
after. I don't know if there's an official one. It's how these turn into whatever some random hotel lobby will turn into one. So
But
I
the
don't know
last
yet,
one in
Merle.
Philly wasn't official.
I want to go. I desperately want to go to this Atlanta show. I gotta see if I could swing it with work. So, all right, boys and girls, we are gonna pop on out of here. If you're not subscribed to Flipping Steve, do so. If you're not subscribed to me, do so. Like buttons, comments. You guys and girls know the drill. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.